birds flying high. I can't sing. I was going to sing that song by Michael Bublé, but I can't. Ina wanted me to do it. Impossible. In any case, you already know how I feel. Good morning and welcome to Breakfast Extra. And it's a very good day to observe how ordinary human interactions in the upper political class affect everyday Nigerians trying to survive down here. Because before we go any further, I need to clear out the air about what conversation we're having today. So nobody thinks that we're gossiping. We are not. We are documenting a moment. Now, early this week, a short video surfaced online, and by Tuesday night, it was every single place. In a clip, a man who looks very much like former Edo State Governor and current Senator Adams Oshiomhole is seated inside what appears to be a private jet, gently massaging the foot of a woman widely identified as Lashan Dagama. She's South African. And she's adult. Yes, adult lifestyle content creator. Now, the internet did what the internet does. Screenshots, deep fakes, or rather deep searches and deep dives, think pieces. All of that came out with memes and tongues were wagging. By Wednesday, Senator Oshiomhole, well, he responded. His camp described the video as AI generated. It was fake. They said it was malicious and it was a deliberate attempt to smear his reputation. And he also used the opportunity to warn Nigerians about the dangers of artificial intelligence, deepfakes, and how technology can now manufacture realities, your realities. So the woman at the center of all of this, well, she responded too. She told Nigerians, in effect, take your anger, please, and go and submit it to your senator. You people should leave me alone. Well, with other choice words, which means that this woman actually exists. And I want us to please note that. Now, there is a real Lashan Dagama. She is South African. She is an adult lifestyle content creator. She describes herself as a professional sugar baby. I didn't say so. It says so on her own bio. I'm not being cheeky. But those are not my words. That's how she describes herself. But tell you what, let's enter activists. Former presidential candidate Omoyele Sowore, who frames the moment very sharply and most aptly. While Nigerians are being told that food prices are dropping, leaders are flying private jets and enjoying soft life at 30,000 feet, was what he said. He reminded the public that this is the same Senator Oshiomhole who recently suggested that complaints about hunger were exaggerated and that food prices were coming down. He did this and Nigerians were like, oh God, which coming down exactly? So when this video appeared, whether it was real or whether it was not the question. It was that it landed with resentment. People already had it up to here and they didn't like it. Then the matter also crossed over to from social media to the Senate chamber, believe it or not. During plenary, Senate President himself, we all know him and he's great for talking, you know how he talks, Godswill Akpabio. He noticed an empty chair. He joked out loud. He said, is somebody massaging Oshiomhole's leg? And the entire chamber laughed. They didn't laugh awkwardly. They didn't laugh nervously. They laughed comfortably with their full chests, like as if it was an ordinary day at the Red Chambers. And that, ladies and gentlemen, that completes the entire picture here, because this is not really about whose foot was being massaged at 30,000 feet in a private jet. It is about distance, and I hope you can see that distance now. It is about the emotional, economic, and psychological distance between those who govern and those who are governed. A distance so wide that scandals become punchline material in the highest lawmaking chamber of the land, nonetheless. You see, for Senator Oshiomhole, the issue is it's not legality, it's credibility, because whether you like it or not, true or false, perception has weight. And public trust is already thin. People will make up their minds. For the Senate, the issue is standards. When confidence is fragile, jokes do not land as jokes. Nigerians will interpret things anyhow that they want to interpret them. And for Nigerians watching, this felt very familiar. Leaders who speak, well, one language on the ground and then a totally different one when they're up in the air. But here's where the story actually takes a very sharp turn. After days of backlash, Senator Oshiomhole released a longer explanation, and trust me, it was long. He says the video was a misrepresentation this time. He insists he is not an insensitive public office holder. He says the meeting was part of a personal self-funded diplomatic effort to counter international narratives about religious persecution in Nigeria. That Lashanda Gama was approached not for her content, but for her reach. That the discussion was intellectual, it was strategic and pathetic. Sorry, patriotic. And the message, well, he says, she complained, the massage rather, he says she complained about cramps. And since he was nearby, well, he helped briefly, and then cabin crew took over later. Nothing more. Now, Nigerians will decide for themselves whether that explanation clarifies or complicates the matter. But notice something very important. Senator Shomole is absolutely right about AI. AI is dangerous. Deepfakes are ruining people's reputation, and disinformation is a threat. Regulation is absolutely overdue. But notice when this alarm became loud, it didn't become loud because ordinary Nigerians were misrepresented, not when elections were disputed, not when trust was already under attack. The urgency arrived when power itself, in this case, Adams Oshiomhole, felt exposed. That is often how reform begins in Nigeria. Not with empathy, but with inconvenience. So, I guess it's a new day. It's a new dawn, at least for one man. And I'm feeling good morning and welcome to Breakfast Extra. There's one person who can help me complete that melody, and it's none other than Inam Maso. Inam, do you want to help me out here since I can't sing?
It's a new day, it's a new life for me, and I'm feeling good.
Really, really good, and thank you very much for starting off the show on a grand note. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Breakfast Extra. Let's get the show started. We've got great conversation coming your way. By the way, Inam, they want me to pass an information to you.
Don't you dare.
They say you look like, she looks like who now?
Don't you dare.
Like who? The person, what? Oh! Let's start the show.
Don't try me. Good morning. This is a Saturday on Breakfast Extra, and I definitely am Inam. We bring you the biggest stories shaping Nigeria's security, politics, and public life. Now, in our first hour, we head to Benue State, where police have deployed more personnel to Abane village following renewed insecurity. Our correspondent Sagir Ibrahim joins us alongside Community Voices to unpack what this development really means for residents. We also then turn to the spotlight on the digital space as Nigerian editors raise concerns over algorithm-driven influence on news and, of course, the public opinion. In the second hour, tensions within the PDP take center stage as leadership disputes threaten the party's planned national convention. Party leaders join us to explain what's at stake. We also then revisit Kwara State, where deadly attacks have left conflicting accounts between military and local communities. And of course, in the final hour, controversy trails the Senate's rejection of electronic transmission of election results, sparking fresh debate over electoral reforms ahead of the future polls. And of course, on Extra Special, we examine Nigeria's rising snakebite fatalities following the death of Ifunaya Nwangene. And of course, why experts say the country's medical response urgently needs an upgrade. Of course, it's a packed program here on Breakfast Extra. But first, Mazino, the dailies.
Yes, we're going to get to the dailies, but I couldn't help but they actually did have something going there with the resemblance. I never saw it.
We do not look alike.
I did not see it.
We do not look alike.
Well, very interesting week this past week, with everything that's been happening. It's a week where you turn the pages of the newspaper and you couldn't find one paper that didn't carry the attacks that were happening inside of the north, especially in Kwara State, which is bringing it down east a bit too much. But then again, whether you liked it or not, one of the big topics was Senator Oshiomhole's rebuttal. What do you call it? Rebuttal, rejection of the instance that happened inside of the jet. Initially, it wasn't him; it was AI. All of a sudden, we have a longer explanation, and I'm wondering maybe the first denial would have been just best.
I think so. There was a movie I watched when I was growing up by Medea, and she had a lawyer, but the lawyer could not lie. And she was like, but you're a lawyer. You need to learn how to lie. Lawyer, lie and lawyer. So I just feel like he wasn't very creative. And I've said this before. Sometimes they're just not creative with the lies. He was going to lie to get himself out. We all know that. But I think, like you said, the AI one was better.
Would have stuck better.
But it wouldn't have stuck anyway because the screenshots of the footage were from her TikTok account.
Yeah, she put up an entire message saying, hey, you guys leave me alone. So
Exactly. So,
but then in the end, again, it's just the disillusionment that comes with governors or that comes with people in authority. They don't think like you do, it would seem.
Yeah.
It's not like as if your reality is the same as theirs. Theirs is 30,000 feet above sea level, I guess. Yours is down here. So you can understand that these matters to them are flimsy, just ordinary. It's like a walk in the park.
Right.
Okay, Oshabala is not here because, okay, maybe he's getting a foot massage.
yep.
You know, let's laugh about it while, you know, everybody else who can't afford a simple ticket, let alone a private jet, who are exposed to that kind of material, you can imagine how they would feel when you laugh
Literal
about that kind of
depiction
thing.
of you can run, but you can't hide. In
Crazy.
this case, you can fly, but you definitely cannot hide.
Absolutely. Well, we do have the dailies. Let's not forget the dailies. Let's start with the dailies. Let's do that sting we do, and then we'll bring you the dailies.
Mazino, I think it is time for the dailies, right?
Yes, it is, of
So
course.
let's go ahead and show up the first one, no?
Let's do the Punch newspaper will be the first paper that we start with for a Saturday morning. Here, the Punch newspaper has these headlines front and center here. Sadiku, unmasking terrorists leader behind Kwara massacre. All of a sudden, we're beginning to get more details into these instances happening in the north, especially when it comes to the terrorists. We never used to have these details from before. There's more there. The writers read how Sadiku rose from Boko Haram Shekau's lieutenant to North Central terror kingpin, and women in hijab among bandits, say survivors, and 50 residents hospitalized. Government sets up relief committee. We have plenty to talk about this inside of the conversations we have for our first hour. So join us. We have experts who will be joining us then as well. So I'll save most of the fire for then.
Okay.
Wedding carnival. Tinubu governors celebrate at Matawale's 10 children tie knots. His 10 children tie knots. That's festive. Venom and vacuum, how Nigeria's anti-venom shortage turns snake bites into death sentences. We're having that conversation here today as well. Why some Nigerians think I have drug problem. Artist David Jones. I know him. No, you don't. You're just eccentric. Inside Burkina Faso, Ghana criminal network where desperate Nigerian migrants disappear. Hang on a second. This is inside Burkina Faso, and it's a Ghanaian criminal network. And this is where desperate Nigerian migrants disappear. Talk about cross-cultural influence. That's all for the Saturday Punch newspaper, as much as we can take. What paper do you have next?
I have the Tribune. The Tribune, of course, in red right there. Of course, underneath that it said, who killed forest rangers in Oyo because they arrested 3 Fulani herders? A suspect says his share of a ransom was 10,000 naira.
Oh, dear.
I think that's a very interesting one. Right underneath there, it says, troops raid kidnappers' hideouts in Edo Forest, arrest 13 suspects, seize weapon and drugs. And in blue at the bottom, it says, security agents storm Kogi Forest, arrest 8 criminals. Right under there at entertainment, it says, how the past 2 years tested me in unexpected ways. And then we've got Kwara massacre. Attackers returned on Wednesday to continue their outlawed by retreated when they saw soldiers. And then right at the top there at the left, it says Oyo government seizes 12 baskets of chemical ripened mangoes, warns against dangerous practices. And then right there, it says government says it targeted 4 million voters ahead of 2027.
Okay. Well, Inam, I'm being told that we have to put a halt on the papers now because we have one big story, or rather big report, that we must take immediately. The hour is packed, so we have to rush up into our next segment here. Let's do our big story, but thank you for joining us for the papers. If we can, before the end of the show, we will bring you a complete segment for that. But let's do our very first big story inside of Breakfast Extra for a Saturday morning. welcome back. It's time for our very first big report this morning here for Breakfast Extra. My name is Bill, co-host in Amaso. Now in Benue State, a bandit village has joined a growing list of communities where violence arrived faster than help. After days of deadly attacks that left scores killed and families displaced, police say some personnel have now been deployed. But for residents, the question remains, is this protection or is it another tale or rather late response to an old pattern? To understand what happened and what has changed since the deployment, our correspondent went into the affected communities, spoke with survivors, local leaders, and also security sources, and tracked the response on the ground. We're expecting a special report from Sagir Ibrahim on that.
As you can see, bikes are moving at the moment and the convoy has stopped. The destination is Abandi, the community that was attacked on the 3rd of February. The reason why we're here right now is because, well, the officer just said that we are moving, but the reason why we had to stop is because we heard a gunshot from here, 2 gunshots actually, and 2 others from the other side just behind my cameraman. Now, the thing is, we had to do some clearance. The officers had to do some clearance. If you move with me this way, you would see that officers are positioned right here at the moment, just trying to make sure that everywhere is safe and clear before we can proceed to the community. Just some precaution before we move and continue our trip to this area. The armored personnel carrier that was following us initially has moved ahead of us to ensure that these areas and the terrain is cleared before we proceed with the journey. That's the update for the moment, and we hope that we'll get to Abandi community and of course get these items, much needed items, and also security support delivered to the area as soon as possible. We're now in a bandit community, and as you can see, well, security reinforcement is now here. It's safe to say that residents of this community would be able to sleep a little bit more peacefully tonight without a bit of concerns over the activities of the armed bandits, which is very real, by the way. On our way here, we had mentioned a scenario where we had to stop to sweep the environment because of some of the activities that residents of the communities before this area had spoken to us. They had said that before we arrived at that vicinity, about 2 gunshots in 2 different areas were heard, and as a result of that, we had to sweep those vicinities before we came to this very point. But for right now, as you can see around me, police officers are currently here in the location. The expectation is that they're going to be here and they will remain here so as to forestall any other attacks against this community. But the sad thing, sadly, is on February the 3rd, the sad attack happened here. There were casualties during that attack, and I will be speaking with some of them right now. For now, I would want to speak with the youth leader, Mr. Simon. Mr. Simon, if you would please come forward so we could hear some details from Mr. Simon, who is the youth leader of Abandi community here in Abandi. Tell us what happened on the 3rd of February.
Okay, sir.
Face
Okay, sir.
Yes.
It was on market day, being around 1 o'clock. The Fulanis they came road from Cameroon side, then came and entered Abandi on hot afternoon, which was on market day. So they killed a lot of people. The people that we discovered, they are 17 in number. So the people that lost, they are inside bush that we will never discover. They are 10 in number. So in fact, they spoiled a lot of store. I cannot mention because the store were plenty. The store within within the road, they are plenty. They spoil everything. They spoil things like in the shop. They carry a lot of money, and some they are in hospital. So those ones that run and wound themselves. That is the incident happened that on market day in Abandi market.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So how does it feel seeing security policemen right now?
So now I saw the security there in Abandi, plenty. I saw Mopo with other security. So now I know there's a solution the government is finding for us.
Thank you so much, Mr. Simon. Yes, so now we'll speak to another person. Sadly, this person secured injuries during the attack. As a matter of fact, Pastor Tesu is here. You can see that his arm is still bandaged and he's still recovering. Can you walk us through what you experienced on the 3rd of February?
Yes, sir. It was on the market day when we were here. All of a sudden, the bandits just arrived, shooting sporadically, and then everybody was trying to escape. It was during that process that I was trying to rescue my life. Then I had this injury.
Okay. Since that time until now, what have you gotten in terms of support from the authorities?
The government of Benue State is trying a lot. The local government, our local government chairman came. The first day, the following day, he came, arrived here in the morning, and the security personnel are here. Now, as we were feeling before now, there is a little bit peace, and I can see today the security personnel are coming more and more to secure us. So we are trusting God that the government too is working tirelessly to make sure that there is peace. Peace is restored in Abande here.
Finally, what would you say about the recent? Is this the first time there's been an attack such as this? Tell us about previous.
Okay, we have been experiencing this for the past 14 years. This is the 15 years. I cannot tell the number of people that we lost, but this recent one we lost about 17 people. Yesterday we buried 2 because there was no way we can take them to the mortuary. My in-law was buried yesterday as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr.
Welcome.
Yes, that's testimony from Pastor Tese. Pastor Tese, thank you so much. You can go and get some rest. Pastor Tese has narrated his experiences to us. We also have Mr. Fabian. Mr. Fabian is indeed also a youth leader within this community. He is from here, and he also will be telling us about updates and situation. Currently, he is a special assistant to the honorable member representing the Kwande axis among several other local governments. So he will be speaking to us with regards to the efforts that the government as well as the representative of this area, have made since the attack. Can you bring us up to speed? What were first steps taken by your principal when they heard about this event?
Okay, this particular attack of February 3rd is one attack out of many. Before now, my principal, Honorable Tese Ugbo, has been up to speed with the issue regarding the issue of insecurity in this particular region. He, over the time, has donated motorcycles to the local vigilantes. He has donated kits to the security personnel that have been stationed here. And this particular attack the notice was sent to the community two to 3 days before the attackers came, that they were going to attack this community, and we raised alarm, and we didn't receive any serious attention from any quarter from anybody. Honorable Tese Ugbo has been raising alarm over this issue. This particular attack was one of the issues that has really exposed the level of volatile area or volatile situation of this area. And I don't know, but as we speak, it has happened, and the government has responded. As you can see from the background, the security personnel that have been sent from the state government to man the environment so that our people can also return home and feel safe at home. So we are also calling on the government, the federal, both federal, state and local government, to increase more security, because what we have on ground is not enough, because these people usually come in numbers, in thousands, and our local security and the ones that have been posted are not enough. So we are pleading that if the government can increase more effort in beefing more security in this area, so that our people can have that confidence and stay in the ancestral land. It's a systematic way of grabbing our land, and we cannot allow our land to be taken by the bandit. We are pleading with the government should protect us, because it will get to a stage, because we are asking the government to allow us to carry arms to protect ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, that's Mr. Fabian there speaking so passionately about the situation. Thank you so much, Mr. Fabian. Well, I give you some other updates that are going on around my vicinity. There's another police truck, 2 others, in fact, let's make it 3, that's positioned here right now. But also you would notice that there's some activity going on here. That's because the Deputy Commissioner of Police from the Benue State Police Command, who was deployed here, led the police officers to this point, is currently meeting with the leadership of the Abande community right now. So the expectation is that he would give them a brief of what the development is. Officers and men of the Nigerian police force will then remain here to man the areas and the fringes of this community to ensure that such attacks don't happen anymore. I really would have loved to speak with him here on camera, but unfortunately we would not be able to do so because of the meeting that's going on in right now. But subsequently, we will be bringing you his submissions and, so, of course, his brief as to what the plan is for these police officers as they prepare to man these areas going forward. It's back to you.
I want to confirm that there was an incident of arms ADAS attack. Then we have some deployment here already that we deployed about two years ago, and they responded swiftly. If not, the casualty will have been much. And as been recorded, we lost one of our officers that led the operation here. Because of the terrain, I was directed by the Commissioner of Police to quickly reinforce the deployment here. And I want to assure the group of people of Abande that their lives and property will be adequately secured.
This place is so vast, the terrain. Before you can move from Jatuaka there to where the incident took place, it will take you no less than 3 hours, as you can see the nature of the road. We deploy security, some at Anyase, some at Boagundu, and some are there. And you know, when these people are coming, they come in numbers and divide themselves. Sometimes some will be hiding somewhere, other group will start the attack before you can run to where the attack is to repair. The other group will rise up. The issue of insecurity in Benue State is beyond social media, as they are writing a lot of things on air. They should come together. If they have any way they can contribute. Most of them, they don't even assess where the incident took place. They go on giving numbers, 20 people, 30 people are killed. This is not a good instant that you'll be increasing the number. What will you benefit?
Sagir Ibrahim, as well as Sekpet Michael, join us for this conversation. But before we get into that, let's go on a very quick break. Do stay with us right here on Breakfast Extra. You're welcome back to Breakfast Extra. We are still on the big report and in Benue State. Now, before the break, we mentioned that Sagir Ibrahim joins us live now alongside Sekpet Michael, the convener of Turan People's Assembly. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Sagir, I'll start with you. And from what you observed in Abande, can you give me a bit of an understanding of what the police presence looks like, and if at all it is meaningful for the daily lives of residents in any way?
Well, in a meaningful way, yes. Good morning, Inam. Good morning, Maz. So we went to the community, a particularly hard-to-reach community. Abande is one of the villages within the Turan ward in Jatuaka in Kwande local government area of Benue State. Now, I really would want to give details about the challenges that we encountered, just to access this community. It's a 3 hours drive into the forest. It is unmanned. It's just a spread of continuous forests with a narrow path for vehicles to manage to ply through. So I'm giving this vivid description so as to understand what a logistical nightmare it would be for responders such as the police, the army, or any of the security forces that would want to go into those communities should there be any form of a breach or an attack. So this is the reason why the need for security presence to be in these areas. But then again, the police deployed yesterday. They were in the community. Officers were present to man the different areas of the community. When we spoke to the Deputy Commissioner of Police in charge of operation at the Benue State Command, DCP Kon Asukwo, he had mentioned that they have indeed been to the location at least 2, 3, 4 times this week, just to ensure that aside the fact that officers are within the community, they still carry out routine sweeping through these communities, because like I mentioned, it's a very vast space. It is large, and I mean, I'm sure you saw from the visuals the amount of forest that surrounds Abande village. But interestingly, Abande is not even the only village or the only settlement that's within that forest. On our way, we had to take a quick stop at around Anwase village, another village that was on the news yesterday because of a reported attack in that community in broad daylight in the afternoon. It was mentioned that the market in the community, Anwase village, was also burnt. I bring it to your attention that we were within the vicinity when that was happening, because around the time that we got to that location, residents had reported to the police that they had heard 2 gunshots at 2 different locations within that particular village. This had caused for a bit of detour on our part because of the fact that we were going all the way to Abande village. The police first of all had to do a quick sweep of the area before they proceeded. We didn't see any bandits as at the time. We proceeded to the village, and of course the Nigerian army were on ground as at the time we were returning to ensure for an effective sweeping of that area. But then this brings to fore just how volatile these areas are, the vastness of this space, and the need for security presence in that area. Upon getting to Abande village, and of course speaking with residents of the community, they heaved a sigh of relief, honestly, to the fact that they have more security personnel on the ground. But some of what they were saying is that just being present in the village is not enough for them. It's one thing to be in the village to prevent attacks on the village, but it's another thing to be on the fringes of the village to ensure that any activity that's going on around the borders of the village will be checked, so as to prevent an escalation, whatever the case may be. When we also spoke to the chairman, he had expressed the same frustration. The land is vast. These non-state actors operate in quite a coordinated skill. He had described a situation where you would see them come in their numbers, then they would divide themselves into small groups and take different parts, different routes within the same forest to carry out a simultaneous attack. So you have a challenge when the forces are trying to repel from this part. You have a situation where another group is attacking from another part, which brings to fore the challenges that it would take to address issues such as this.
All right, Sagir. So sorry, Sagir, but Sagir, we also have Secretary Michael here, and I want to ask him specific questions regarding what is actually pushing these attacks. What's at the bottom of it? It's not a religious thing, we don't think. What exactly is driving the attacks? Do you know, Secretary?
Yeah, good morning, News Central. Thank you very much. To answer that thing directly, I don't think we are having anything less of religious and land grabbing. We are talking about herdsmen which are predominantly Muslim. We are talking about herdsmen who hire these other religious extremists to come in full force and attack a community that is predominantly Christian. So if people who are belonging to a particular religion, but like the Muslim, and are hiring the same religious extremity or Islamic extremity to come and attack, we can equate that to a religion or maybe a genocide. I'm just trying to use this word very carefully. But if a particular set of people who are predominantly Muslim are attacking a community that is predominantly Muslim, I think that should be equated or that should be interpreted as religion or a religious crisis. So these people, as I said, they belong to a particular group that is Muslim, and they are hiring Islamic extremists to come in full force in numbers to attack a community that is predominantly Christian. That can be interpreted as
all right then.
religion.
I wanted to know, when these bandits come in and attack these villages, what do they leave with? Do they leave with kidnapped victims? And when they do, is it a case where they're asking for ransom for these individuals? Or do they just simply come, burn, and leave?
Well, that is another thing entirely. These people come. Their mission is, some of them have kettles, some of them come without kettles, some of them come in form of grazing the land. So when they spoil our farm produce, our crops, and we try to give a kind of complaint or maybe any explanation, they will now go and hire the other people to come and attack. So in the other way, they are attacking because of our land they want to graze. In the other way, they are just killing people for no reason other than being that their Islamic agenda. So just to paint the picture very clear, and their hideout, we have a border here that is having to do with the Cameroon, and they're having to do with Kashimbila. Kashimbila is a settlement in Taraba State where they settle and then carry out this thing. It is one thing for them to attack for land. It is one thing for them just to attack just because people are living there and they don't want them to live there, or they don't want them. In fact, they just want to kill. They just want to sack the community and occupy. We are talking about a vast area of land. So even just because of grazing, what they have occupied already is enough for them to graze thousands of head of cattle. So it is very difficult to now understand whether or not these people are coming for land grazing. It is difficult to understand whether they are coming for either Islamic agenda or any of the religious agenda they might put forward. It is now very difficult to understand the two things. The land is enough for them to graze. It is enough for farmers to farm. If there is any mutual understanding, this issue of killings, displacement, sacking of communities, and then now occupying it wouldn't have been existent. It is very difficult to. These people have an agenda, which is to sack and occupy our land.
Okay, then. Well, thank you, Sekwe. Sagir, let me come to you. We've heard what Sekwe has just said. First of all, there's a bit of confusion about exactly what the aim of these attackers are. Is it land grab? Definitely not religious. But Sagir, what are the people of Abende asking now, and the surrounding communities? What are they asking for now? Are they asking for increased security presence? And how is this going to, and how constant are these security presence going to be? And have the authorities also said that they would be giving these security presence?
Okay, Maz, I think I would start this way. So for every Nigerian, I think there are just about 5 basic demands that an average Nigerian, wants from the government. It goes around security, constant or stable power supply, healthcare facilities, adequate, proper healthcare facilities to be able to, cater for their health needs. There is also the issue of school among a variety of, which makes around 5 of them. Now, for the residents of Abande community, first off, going into the community, we had passed around 2 or 3 schools, primary schools particularly, and we saw the state of the schools. It pushed me to tears because the schools were dilapidated, they were in terrible shape. Now, I was sad not just because of the fact that children will not be able to attend school, as a result of what's been going on around these areas, but also because of the fact that even if some efforts were made to put these schools in shape, it's still not going to change anything because of how insecure these environments are. We passed a lot of empty houses, deserted areas. Mind you, this is an agrarian community. Benue is known in Nigeria to be the headquarters of the food basket of the nation. The food basket of the nation. And many farming communities around the state are facing these same challenges. So it means that if there's no provision of security, farming communities such as Abande, such as Anwasi, such as Jatuaka and Bachon village, such as the many others that have been attacked, will have their residents flee. Farmers who ought to have been in the farm, farming to ensure that Nigeria's food need is met, are currently displaced and out in the communities because they just cannot stay in the villages due to the activities of non-state actors. The demands remain one thing particularly: provide us security. If you provide us security, then we have cause to continue continue to do our activities, carry out our agrarian activities, without really bothering what the government is doing or which person is campaigning for what to become what. We just want to be able to go to farms, farm our produces, take it to a market that is available within our community for us to meet willing buyers, sell this produce and go on with our lives. But it's even looking right now that itself is becoming a huge challenge for the government to provide. I go to another issue. You have the cases of police officers trying to respond. How do security forces respond swiftly when you have terrain such as the one leading to Abande? The road is in terrible shape. In order for these guys to respond, they have to go in with heavy equipment and artillery. Mind you, they are armed, their equipment are heavy. How do they traverse all of these roads if the road is in the state that it's in? This provides another challenge. There's also the issue of adequate security to deploy to these areas. Yes, I know. When I asked the Deputy Commissioner of Police yesterday how many police officers were deployed to the area, he mentioned to me that for security reasons he wasn't going to give a figure. That's all right, that's okay. But we all know the concern with the paucity, the lack of adequate policemen in the country to man areas such as this that's been having security breaches and all of that. If you put all of this combined together, it really paints a sad situation, and which the government really has to do something about to prevent the continuation of all of these issues. Because like I mentioned, Benue is the food basket of the nation. If this continues unabated for whatever reason that it is, one consequence is clear. Nigeria's food production ability will definitely be affected, and many residents of villages, communities within these areas will be displaced from their ancestral land with nowhere else to go, increasing the number of internally displaced persons in the country, among many other humanitarian issues. Mazino.
I mean, it's quite clear that, Mazino, what the people in Benue are asking for is not anything new. If you go to the north or any other region, I think the demands and the requests are the same, which is the right to be safe, the right to feel protected in Nigeria. And for communities like Abande, security is not an abstract promise. It is the difference between staying home and running for safety. Until protection becomes proactive in Nigeria, these villages will keep paying the price. This is Breakfast Extra. Mazino.
Oh, thank you very much, Sagir. Sagir, I don't know if you're going to advocate for therapy for reporters who cover the kind of bits that you do, but that's quite a lot to put on one man. And we appreciate your reporting every single time, and also the risk that you take. Shekwe, thank you very much as well for giving us some inside information on how things are happening inside of Benue and the dynamics that happen between the farmers and the herders as well. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us for our very first big report this morning. Now we go on a break. We've got more coming your way. Do stay tuned. It's only the first hour of Breakfast Extra.
You're welcome back to Breakfast Extra, where we bring you the biggest stories in Nigeria. Now, Nigeria's information space is changing faster than its institutions can keep up. News is no longer shaped primarily by editors, gatekeepers, or professional standards. Increasingly, it is shaped by algorithms designed thousands of miles away, programmed to reward speed, emotion, and engagements. Now, according to the Nigerian Press Organization, this shift has profound consequences for how Nigerians understand politics, security, health, and even one another. Media leaders warn that misinformation, half-truths, and outright falsehood now travels faster than verified reporting. The stories that provoke anger and fear are amplified, like that jet story, while a nuanced journalism struggles for visibility.
Absolutely. So the NPO, they argue that Nigerian media operates under strict legal and ethical frameworks, while global digital platforms face little local accountability despite their influence. Now, this imbalance, they say, weakens journalism and places national discourse at the mercy of opaque systems Nigerians cannot question or audit. So to unpack these concerns, we are joined by, first off, Eze Anaba. He's president of the Nigerian Guild of Editors and member of the Nigerian Press Organization, and Abdulateef Ahmed, head of research and digital news editor at News Central. Gentlemen, you are welcome. Thank you very much for joining us virtually and also in the studio here. Abdulateef, let's talk about this. Yeah. Now, my views are shaped by what I know. What I know, I gather from let's say the news predominantly. However, these days, what I gather is mandated by algorithms. Digest material real quick, anything that raises my passion, temper, anger, you know, that's what my algorithm will bring to me. What exactly are the threats we face when it comes to real credible news and how it affects our perception of Nigeria, Lagos, our environment, let's forget the world?
So generally, a lot of Nigerians are, eager to be the first to say it, get an idea and break it, get the news and break it. A lot of people do not mind, having to fact check, having to be sure to verify that this news is true before they put it out there. Because a lot of them, again, are lacking in certain knowledge of how, the media, the media space is run. What they do is to say, you know what, I could trend with this thing. I could get a lot of eyeballs. I could get a lot of shares. I could get a lot of comments with this, and then they run with it. Again, because of low media literacy, people do things that they feel are harmless, at least to them and their families. So they feel it's a game. You can just run it, and as long as nobody's hurting my family, that's fine. But when you turn the searchlight back to yourself, that is, if you were to be put, in a hotspot and then railroaded or being talked about back and forth, and you're unable to even go around to explain what it is really, it becomes, an issue where you now become a bit more measured in what you put out there. So one, you have media outlets that are doing their best to put genuine, legitimate information out there. Then you have a whole lot of people who, they only have their mobile phones, their tabs, and they will churn out anything. So the barrage of misinformation, disinformation, fake information and stuff like that, would almost swallow genuine and legitimate information. So, and like, you are what you eat. So what you feed on, even in terms of information, is almost the same thing. That when you feed yourself consistently with poorly produced information, you tend to be someone who will believe anything, almost anything, without having to double check. So, it's not here or there, but the most important thing is for us to rely on, news or content from verified sources.
I have another question for you, but I'm going to save it until after Inam asks a question here. I know you have one for
Okay.
But we'll go to Mr. Anaba. What specific dangers do algorithm-driven platforms pose to democracy and social economic responses and values in Nigeria?
Thank you again for having me. Let me just say this. The way algorithms have invaded or dominate our media space did not just start suddenly. It was came in progressively and somehow now increasingly seizing our media space without us paying too much attention. Now, let me start this. Some years back, Google, one of the big techs, used to pay online news platforms a lot of money. They call it AdSense. Then suddenly, things changed. They changed the algorithms, money reduced drastically, and they still use our content without paying commensurate fee. But that is not the big danger. Now to your question. The other gentleman talked about misinformation. Very, very true. The narratives driven by algorithms undermine democracy in ways that are not healthy for our democracy, for instance. And let me try to unpack it a little. Let's talk about this Electoral Act, which is now dominating public discussion. Algorithms can give you a narrative that will fuel anger, that will distort information in a way that will lead to disinformation. I'm not even talking about misinformation now. Disinformation, deliberately misleading people, provoking anger, provoking unrest, which is gaining momentum. We have our security challenges. Algorithm-driven stories, for instance, will undermine the public space.
Mr. Naba, Mr. Naba,
yes.
Before you finish what you're saying, I would like you to first of all define for us exactly what algorithm-driven stories are, and whether this is not a cue for our traditional journalists or traditional journalism to actually change, because it seems sensation wins the day. If I want a story to actually be caught by algorithm, I'll make sure that it's sensational. Sensational stories are not often good, great, happy stories. They're bad, poor, terrorists, killings, all of that, people being robbed. So what does it behoove the journalist himself if he wants to balance this algorithm-driven versus traditional journalism seesaw?
Yeah, let me give you algorithm-driven stories. Stories initiated by Meta, Facebook, TikTok, Google, and even the big TV stations like CNN. They also have their own algorithm space. So they have this technological-driven initiative that drive narrative according to our preferences. For instance, what you click every day, these algorithms know your preference. They say, okay, they will know that you prefer reading political stories. They will give you the type of political stories that would titillate you in a way that will engage you. It will seize you, and you see them as truth. I'll give you a classic example of what happened to me personally. I was in Morocco in December to watch AFCON. While there, Vanguard Online, from a story written by Reuters, published that infrastructure, declining gate fees, people are not interested in AFCON, and all that. So my attention was drawn to it by a colleague of mine. And the fellow asked me, is this true? And I said, this Morocco that I'm in, Morocco, I've traveled a bit. Morocco is more better than in terms of infrastructure. Most European countries that I've visited. So I had to call my online and I said, look, this is not true. That is how these guys shape narrative. That Africa can never do good. We can never organize ourselves. Morocco was a success story, shorn of what happened at the final. But I was there. I saw the infrastructure. I saw the incredible roads, incredible stadia, incredible infrastructure. Incredible, and I'm saying incredible by African standard. But the narrative by algorithms, just go and check that people are not interested. That's one of the classical examples I can give you of how
it's a great example. It's a great example, and in a minute I'm going to be bringing one suggestion for an example that we should take a look at. It has something to do with the Nigeria-U.S. Relationship, but I'm sure Inam has a question here.
Yeah, I mean, I think I need enlightenment. Sir, I'm trying to get you to help me understand the difference between algorithm-driven reports and propaganda.
I think that's one for Abdul
Latif. I think I'll bring it to you. Abdul Latif, can you help me understand the difference between an algorithm-driven story and propaganda? Because, I mean, on my part, if I am interested in politics, I'm going to click on it, and of course, the algorithm is modified according to my preference, right? Yeah. So it's generally going to generate things that I am interested in. I'm trying to gauge the difference between propaganda and having false news pop up on my feed, as opposed to having news that I'm interested in on my feed.
Yeah, so generally speaking, when you use a platform, it observes your behavior and sees that, okay, it seems that you prefer to engage the content in the mornings or at a certain pattern, probably after work time. So it populates your space with what it thinks that you need. those are algorithm-driven stories. Sometimes they are shaped by your preferences. So if on a daily basis what you click on are religious content, it will keep popping up with religious content. Now,
and if I'm not a Trump fan and I click on and I like stuff that are not to his disadvantage, I'll continue to get that kind of.
So unless you are broad-minded to say, you know what, I may be tilted in this direction, this may be my interest, but because I want to be unbiased, I will therefore click on this side and this side in order to be able to.
You have to be intentional.
Intentional. That is one. Two, propaganda is just content that are intended to mislead you, force you into a certain narrow perception, or force you into a perception that should be, assumed to be true. Ahead of the Iraq war, U.S.-Iraq war, the United States fed the entire world with an oversupply of propaganda, something almost no one could bend. You couldn't hide away from radio or TV or internet. Therefore, you were being force-fed with information that you didn't have alternatives from. For example, we didn't have alternative news sources from Iraq. A lot of people do not understand Arabic in this part of the world. So you will be left with what comes from Washington. You'll be left with what comes from the West. But if you're an intentional journalist or an intentional human who wants to, weigh the issues and say, okay, you know what, this is coming from the West. Let me see what is coming from the East. Contents from China, Iran, Iraq, or say Russia, where you know that, okay, they are somehow, will I say diametrically, or will I say they are opposed somehow in the way they look at things, East and West. So you've heard contents from the West, CNN, BBC, and the rest of it, and then you try to gauge content from the East. It gives you a fair sense of what balance you get, as against just listening to one source, one content, and then you're stuck in their propaganda.
Mr. Bande, I said I was going to bring you another instance that we could use as a sample. So let me do that right now. Mr. Anaba, I beg your pardon. Now, Mr. Anaba, let's take a look at the narrative that was being framed by the U.S. when it comes to Nigeria, Christian genocide. If I was to always click on material that had Christian genocide on it, how would that change my perception, noting that most of the material that I would be consuming would not be from Nigerian sources? How does that change my perception of my very own country while I'm living in it, but consuming material that are tailored for a certain taste?
Well, you raise a very sensitive issue. If you were based in the US and you just published a Benue story, most of the people that have been killed in Benue are Christians. If you read about Katsina, most of the people that were kidnapped in Katsina, Christians. Now, if an algorithm-driven narrative, for instance, from the US, compiles the number of killed Christians in Benue, in Kaduna, and which other state now?
Kwara.
Kwara. You will be correct. But here in Nigeria, we know that the killings have been indiscriminate and that it will not be fair to drive the narrative that it's strictly genocide. There's a little difference there. So in the US, you might be correct to say, it's only Christians that they are killing, if you hear the numbers. But those of us in Nigeria know that these animals are killing everybody as long as it concerns land.
All right, Mr. Anaba. Yes, that's very clear. That's very clear.
Mr. Anaba, to delve a little bit deeper in your response, could it be that one of the reasons why the information or the algorithm, distortion is coming from the fact that Nigerian press tends to delay in the distribution of the correct information? Because if nothing is coming out of Nigeria, the narrative that we have will always be painted by the West. So is the algorithm to blame for that, or is it because the Nigerian media and press do not distribute the correct kind of information to slam whatever it is that is being said? Who is to blame for that?
Good question. And that gives me an opportunity to expand on this MPO's initiative. The big techs are dominating the media space. I started earlier by telling you the huge dollars we used to earn online from our online earnings. It was called AdSense. Then gradually the thing diminished to almost zero. They keep changing the algorithms. Most online media houses now cannot pay their bills. Now it has impacted on Nigerian media in ways that we cannot operate efficiently. Newsrooms are contracting, including yours. What is your content should earn you on YouTube?
Yeah, true.
Are you getting the commensurate fee? They now determine what we earn, and they use our content. If you do Google search now, what will give you is probably News Central investigation. Are you paid commensurately for what you earn, for what you do? The question, the answer is zero, almost nothing. Newsrooms are shrinking. We cannot pay our bills. Investigations cannot be done.
Mr. Naba, you're painting a grim picture of what how it affects.
Yes, I'm answering Inam's question.
Yeah.
Please permit, let me expand.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Now, in South Africa recently, the State Commission of Inquiry ruled that the big techs should now start paying commensurate wages, bills for the local content they use. In Europe, the same thing is applying now, that the monopolistic tendencies of the big tech, they should pay journalists, and I'm talking about Europe. In Australia, the big techs are now paying hugely for local content. So, to answer your question, if the big techs, and I'm talking about Google, the Meta, TikTok, and all that, they have all the technology to get to you first. While the local media is shrinking, struggling to survive, the big techs are using our content, they're expanding, they can get to you first. You click your phone, you open your phone, it's their content you will see before ours get there. They have the sophistication, they have the technological wherewithal to do whatever they want to do. So that's why we are complaining.
I mean, to a certain extent, I do agree with the fact that, yes, the probability of them reaching my attention first is there. I agree with you on that. But I think where I feel like you may not necessarily have answered my question is in that I am in Nigeria. Access to responses from Nigerian press should be easy for me to reach. Sure. And the reality is that when I go ahead and I check the reports, we don't get that. We don't get that. And the unfortunate reality is that from a government standpoint, from a security standpoint, that information is always delayed. I'll make an example. When the missiles were launched, we didn't hear it in Nigeria first, we heard it abroad. And I think those are the issues or the spaces that we need to find a way to kind of fill the gaps, such that even when things like this happen in Nigeria, we don't hear from them first, we hear it in Nigeria as well. I think that's the point and the question that I was trying to get to.
It's important we dwell, I don't know how much of your time we are eating up now. Permit me to deal with this. You raised a very good question, and I will still double down on that. The missile that was launched in Nigeria, it takes a little bit of sophistication. Your reporter in Benue talked about access. It took him 3 hours, or took them 3 hours to get to that village. Please, does News Central, for instance, have the wherewithal to send this, to launch a drone, let's use a drone, to that village? My guess is no. Will your reporter, does he have a helicopter that can take him to that village in good time? My guess is no. Then talk about the missile that was launched in Sokoto. The place the bomb landed, the missiles landed. As we speak, even the Nigerian military could not access there. They said so themselves. Now, what used to be a strong point some years back, we could send reporters to the place. But now we are dealing with capacity issues. We are dealing with infrastructure. We are dealing with equipment. Do we have drones? No. But I guess that if we have the resources due us, if News Central, I'm using News Central as an example now, if News Central has the resources due it could launch a drone to that village. It could launch a drone to where the missiles landed in Sokoto. So that is part of what we are campaigning against. If our content, we did not just arrive here today. And I said earlier at the beginning, the thing started gradually some years back. And now we are gradually being consumed by it. That's why we are shouting that, look, if we continue like this, News Central will now depend on big tech, news Meta, or Google, or TikTok for its news on Nigeria.
Mr. Banner.
So we need, yeah.
Yes, you paint the picture very, very aptly. We absolutely understand, but we are out of time. But you have made a very clear case for how this actually affects preference when it comes to news being consumed by individuals. I want to say thank you very much, and also to Abdul Latif here in the studio. Well, from everything that we've discussed, it poses a very interesting take on the matter, and that's that as traditional media ourselves, there is some sort of evolution that needs to happen, whether we like it or not. And this is me actually sending, I don't know if you agree with me, I'm sending Mr. K, Editor-in-Chief, News Central drone needs to be acquired.
I want to believe he's watching.
Yeah, he should. We need a News Central drone. Thank you very much, Mr. Anaba, for actually giving that suggestion. It's a very interesting one and true say you. Thank you very much. Let's take a break now. We've got more inside of Breakfast Extra right here. Don't go anywhere.
Yeah, welcome back. Now, in the spirit of a fearless reporting, Mazino, we are in Kwara State, where grief has collided with uncertainty. Now, after deadly attacks on rural communities, the military and local residents are telling different stories about how many lives have been lost. Numbers matter because they shape responses, they shape accountability, and as well, justice. So the central question this morning is simple, but it is a heavy question. When the facts are disputed, who speaks for the dead? To get clarity, our correspondent went to the affected communities, spoke with the families, the communities and leaders, as well as security sources, and examined why official figures and local accounts are so far apart.
Igbalani joins us live now, along with Umar Salihu, who will be joining us after, head of Woro Village in Kwara State. Igbalani, thank you very much for joining this morning, and of course the efforts made to get to the community. First of all, tell us exactly what it's like in your location, what the people are experiencing firsthand, how tough it was to get there, and the experiences of everyone.
Mazino, good morning, Inam. Good morning, Mazino. If I'm to reel out the experience, sincerely, I'll start with the fact that I couldn't sleep overnight. I saw myself back in Woro shooting and just still reeling from the experience of, I didn't see the dead bodies, but the dried up blood on the floor, the damage. I guess I didn't sleep from 12 a.m. I didn't sleep till about 5 a.m. this morning. That's how big it was. And, going back to Woro, before we got to Woro, it was from Ilorin, which was the capital of Kwara State, to Woro is about 6 hours plus, or over 6 hours. And, the old journey, then getting to Woro, seeing the devastation, houses burnt, belongings left uncatered to, doors ajar, charred remains of household items, vehicles, so many things, just destruction at the wake of it, you see a full street and community of destructions. We didn't see any corpses at the time we got there because information reaching us suggests that they had cleared the corpse. But we saw where they claimed, the villagers said, they laid over 70 people and slaughtered them, places where they said they burnt them alive, places where they said they were shot. In fact, currently we are at the location, which we're trying to keep a little bit secret, of the village head of the Kwara community, because it was quite targeted to him, practically, because they needed to meet him first before they started going to the community. And it seems that also they had given prior information of their visits about a month ago, which he is going to speak to. But we're currently at the compound of the village head, and just as you can see behind me, this is his wife, and she has loved ones surrounding her, coming to commiserate with her. I can't place what was lost, but I know a child or two was lost. Another wife also was lost. One of his vehicles was stolen. Another one was burnt to the ground. Bag of grains, rice, beans, total destruction at the wake. But Alhaji himself is on this other side, also sitting with loved ones, family and friends who have come to commiserate with him. And when you see the scenery, it just kind of make you wonder what exactly these people went through. I don't know if he was there at the time of the attack, but we can confirm that he said he was in the vicinity but not in his home, and I think that was how he escaped. But we're going to make sure we confirm that for him. Good morning, Alhaji. Yes, let's start with your name, sir, and we'll start with how this experience went for you. The anchors in the team in the studio will interact with you and ask you further questions. But let's start with you introducing yourself, sir.
My name is Alhaji Umar Biosaliu. The incident occurred on Tuesday, 3rd February 2026, and it's happened past 5 when the bandit invade the community. They came in mass, and immediately they came, they started shooting periodically, people started running, and that is how they started killing people. And they stayed there since past 5 to 5 a.m., 3 a.m. in the morning before they left the community. That is what exactly happens. The following day, we saw so many cops. Myself, I was in the community. God on his side, I was able to hide in a place where they could not see me. They went directly to my house. They killed 2 of my children, parade my wife to go and show them where I am. They could not find me. So at the end of the day, they took my wife with some of my children into the forest. They burned down my house, my cars, and so many houses and shops in the community. So that's what exactly happens.
Alhaji,
then the following day, we buried about 75 corpses in our Islamic rite.
Yes, Alhaji, my apologies.
Then that was on Wednesday. Then Thursday, we buried 37. So there are some that are buried on the Christian rite. There are some that have been affected that does not. Okay, there are some that are not from that community. They have to take their corpse to different locations. There are some that are burned down in the shops. Some they lock them inside their room and set it on fire. In fact, those that burns inside the rooms and the shops, we cannot even identify some. We cannot count the number of people that are being burned down.
Alhaji, we're so sorry what you've been through, especially with the loss of your children and to have your wife treated like that. So we do commiserate with you on the experience. Now, you also talked about the fact that there was notification that you received a letter, or that they told that they were coming a month in advance. How did you receive that notification? Who brought it? How did that information come to you? And did you report this to the authorities after you got it?
I received the notification on the 10th of January. around 7:45. When the man came, the man is the Akimi of there's one small village about 4 kilometers from my community. According to him, they adopted him and forced him to bring the letter, or else they will kill him. And that is why he brought the letter to me. So when the letter came to me, immediately I WhatsApped the DSS in our local government headquarters. The following day, I took the letter to the Emirate Council, and the Emirate Council photostated the letter, and they sent it to write a letter in that respect and send it to the various appropriate quarters. That is what happened with regards to the notification. Thank you very much.
Alhaji, what action came from the DSS? You said you took the letter to them, but what did they do after? Did they provide any sort of protection since then? Did they even visit the community? Did they stake it out to see how they could help?
So there's no any cover-up or protection. Initially, we have soldiers that are staying there. The bandits came over the night, and there's got exchange between the army and the bandit. Since then, they took away the soldiers, and that place remained open. There's no any security present, and that is why they came and spent almost 10 hours to do whatever they like. That's exactly what happened.
Also, Alhaji, what did the letter say? Did it say they're asking, what were they asking for? Did they just simply say they are coming to pillage the place, or were they requesting you to do anything?
What they wrote in the letter, they are coming down to preach. They say they are coming down to preach. That is the content of the letter. But there is no date, no time. They just say they are coming to preach. And that is just it.
Now, since after the attack, what has been the response from the security authorities, Alhaji?
The attack, the government have sent the army. Presently, there are army there now and some policemen with this forest guard and the community. But already the people in the community are no more longer there. Everybody have to escape. They long for their life. Nobody in the community. The few ones that are there, they are panic. Nobody is willing to stay in the community again any longer because of the incident that happened.
Alhaji, what about the number of people that were killed? The number that the villagers are telling is different from the number that the soldiers are telling. What exactly is responsible for this difference in numbers? Are there people who were also kidnapped that are being lumped together as number of people that are killed? Why are there different numbers from the village and from the authorities?
I'm concerned the incident happened on Tuesday. We started the burial on Wednesday. On Wednesday, we buried 75. Thursday, we buried 37 in our Islamic rite. And there are some that are Christian. They bury their Christian rite. Also, there are some people that they take their corpse to their various destinations, like the Togolese. They bury about 10. They bury their own in their farm settlements. There are some that they bury their own in their own community. There are a number of people that have been burned out in the shop. So one cannot tell the exactly figure. But if you are calculating all these figures, you see that the figure is closing to 200. And then the people they kidnapped, we cannot even know the exact people they kidnapped. Because people have been missing up to now, they cannot see some people ran into the bush. So we don't know exactly number of people that are in captivity just for now.
Alhaji, thank you very much. We're not going to put you through too much anymore. You have told us so much, so we're going to let you go now. We're going to ask that our correspondent, Nee, take over the mic so we can ask him some more questions here because they're very detailed bits that we need to get to. So, Nee, if you are there, if you can relieve Alhaji of the mic so we can talk to you regarding the situation there. It's a very, very sad story there.
Very somber.
And it actually aches me to put Alaji through this, but we needed to know the details, and I think that the rest of the world needs to know exactly what happened on that day there.
I think oh goodness, I don't even know how to go into this. Like Mazino said, you can see that it's a very somber, you can hear from the tone of his voice, more defeated than hopeful. I'd like to know from you, you've surveyed the area, you probably have engaged with other people. Is there any glimmer of hope for the people in the region right now?
When we speak about hope, I think hope would start with resettlement plans, security, rejuvenating the area, assurances of no repeat of such incident. And I think those things are still in the works. When I speak about destruction, for example, if you go to Kwara community right now, a lot of their properties have been destroyed. In fact, they mentioned that a businessman owned a bag of cement, medical supplies, and a whole lot of things that were in that place all lost, worth millions of naira. If that particular man now is to return to Kwara, what will he be returning to do? So what will be the hope for him there? And, noting that the people of that community bank on business. It's an economic viable place. They transact a lot. Now his business is gone. What will he be going back there to do? Even other people who sell crops, other people who trade in that vicinity, what exactly would they be doing? That is one. Then the aspect of security. Yes, the army is placed there currently. In fact, the police are also there. But how long are they going to stay there for? How long are they going to be there with them? Now, that's another question, because one of the residents that we spoke to was mentioning that until the military can guarantee their safety on the long term, they won't go back to that community. Now, if I'm to put a rough estimate to it and say the community had about, let's say, for example, 500 people or 600 people. Now, if I'm to just put an estimate to it, I'll say we met probably about just 80-something people sparsely displaced across there. And those that are there are even trying to move out their belongings. Because while we were heading to the community yesterday, we saw some people taking out the things they could still call their own that's not been burnt, taking it out of the community. So hope would depend on security. Hope for them would depend on aid. As the Brigadier General mentioned yesterday when we spoke to him, that UNICEF has reached out. Also, NEMA is also in conversation with them, trying to see what if they can provide some sort of humanitarian aid to these people, the affected people. But the other question will also be, if they provide it to the people, what about the ones that have been kidnapped? What about the ones that are in the bush? How do they get those ones back? Because that will also be a sense of hope. Right. And there's an adage that says in Yoruba that if your child is lost, it's worse than when your child is dead. Because when your child is dead, you know your child is dead. But if your child is lost, then what do? You keep thinking you will see him one day. What if you don't see him anymore? So for those who their families have been kidnapped, for those who their families remain in the bush, what is really the hope?
I have two questions for you, and I'm hoping that you can answer them for me in one answer based on the adage that you just gave us now regarding the children. I see the children sitting right next to you as well, and I'm trying to understand what daily life looks like for them, whether they're going to school, are they being educated, what relief is being offered for them. And then on top of that, the last question is this being classified as an attack based on genocide, or what is the motive behind the attacks? Yeah.
So I'll start with schools. As you can see beside me, I doubt if those children are attending any school at the moment. The two schools we saw one in the community before we got to Kwara, practically shut down. Of course, we will be attending, trying to get an education in a place that is not safe. And in the community itself, Kwara community, the school is also shut down. In fact, we got information that the principal of the school was part of the person that was slaughtered, with some people claiming the book he was holding in his hand, which contained names of pupils, we would see it on the floor at the time, claiming that it was part of people that were slaughtered. So for that particular school now, in that community that does not have a principal anymore, it means the education, the Commissioner for Education of the state will need to replace that person. Then they will need to guarantee security for any sort of educational activity to resume to our community and even neighboring communities. So it's not just about our community, it's about the neighboring communities everywhere. So those schools have been deserted. You can see the kids here with me. I can't remember the last time they went out of, tried to speak with them, but of course, it's a sensitive time, and with the permission of Alaji, we're just trying to speak with Alaji alone, and also to keep them out of harm's way. But they're here. I doubt if they are going to school. I doubt if they can get any sort of education in the next 1-2 months, because even if they have to they need to be redeployed. If they don't go back to their community, they need to go to another community. And lastly, you mentioned what category is this attack categorized as? For now, it has not been stated. The Brigadier General mentioned that no one has come out to claim this attack. So for now, it's still a deadly attack. We don't know if it's a sect of the Boko Haram. We don't know if it's a sect of the jihadists. We don't know who they are, and we don't know where they came from. Some would say, because the Waro borders some part of Niger, and some would say they came in from there. Some would say they hide in their abode, because there's a national park just behind that particular community called Waro. And some would say, oh, it's a safe haven for most of these bandits, which we're hoping, or they're hoping, the military comes out and to make sure that this insurgency is nipped in the bud. So for now, it's not categorized as anything, as no one has come out to claim, but they know that they're bandits and they've taken the lives and property of the people of Waro community.
Well, Nee, we want to say thank you very much for such fearless reporting. We do expect that you'll extend our condolence once again to Alhaji there. It couldn't be easy what he's been through, but thank you very much once again. Let's get you out of that position. It can't be comfortable. Thank you, Nee. Now to our viewers, do stay tuned. We're going to take a break. God knows we need it after the last 2 conversations, and we'll be right back with more conversation. Stay with us. Still Breakfast Extra here. My name is Mazino Appeal, and the People's Democratic Party is once again consumed in internal conflict, exposing long-standing fault lines within the party. Now, rival factions aligned with influential governors are dissolving party organs, issuing parallel directives, and questioning the legitimacy of leadership. At the center of this crisis is control of the party ahead of its national convention and the broader struggle of relevance. Now, this is not the PDP's first internal battle, but analysts warn this episode is very different. The open nature of the conflict, the involvement of sitting governors, and the speed at which party structures are being dismantled raises serious questions about internal democracy. For grassroots members, confusion runs deep. For voters watching from outside, confidence, well, that continues to slip.
Now, beyond party politics, the crisis has national implications. A weakened opposition reshapes Nigeria's democratic balance, narrowing choices and reducing accountability as the ruling party consolidates power, The PDP's ability to act as a credible counterweight is being tested in real time. Joining us now to examine the crisis is Dr. Adetokunbo Pierce, a PDP chieftain, and George Tourna, Zonal Secretary of the South-South Zone. English entered my mouth. Dr. Adetokunbo, thank you so much for joining us. I will start with you, Doctor. What fundamentally triggers the latest round of conflict within the PDP?
I came here basically to explain what is going on in the PDP.
Right.
First and foremost, there is no crisis in the PDP. George Turner is not the zonal secretary of the PDP. He knows it more than everybody else. He knows it very well. In 2021, when we had the zonal Congress of the South-South, where George Turner was elected secretary of the South-South Zone, I, Adetokunbo Pierce, happened to be the chairman of that zonal Congress in Port Harcourt, hosted by Governor Wike at the time, with all our South-South governors in place. At that point in time, virtually every state in the South-South was a PDP governor. We had the election. How do you have an election in the PDP? The National Working Committee of the PDP from Wadata Plaza coordinates everything in every zone. And they coordinated it the way they normally do. I happen to have been the chairman of that particular Congress where he was elected. His term expired in 2025. April or so, 2025, expired. So how is he claiming now to be, except that Wike now decided on his own, without any permission from the National Working Committee, because Wike thinks he's bigger than the party. So he went and had his own Congress without any permission from the National. So the National said, you've had it, we don't recognize you. Your term is ended. If you want to run again, you have to go through the process. They didn't go through the process. Let me tell you something else. There is no convention that these people are planning. It is not a PDP convention. Look, George Turner is not a member of the party. He has been expelled from the party. At the National Convention of the party, the highest organ of the PDP. Therefore, Mr. Wike is not a member of the PDP. So whatever they're doing, they should have their, look, you have Wike and Co. Limited. That is what they have. It's a limited liability company.
Dr. Pierce.
It is not, are they registered with INEC?
Dr. Pierce.
No, answer this question. Let George Turner answer.
I actually want us to do that.
Is the PDP that they claim that they have, is it a registered political party?
George Turner, this is a question for you straight from our other guest here. Dr. Adetokunbo Pierce is asking, first off, are you the zonal secretary? And then is it a registered
Are you
party?
a member of the People's Democratic Party? The party that is registered with
hold on,
INEC,
Doctor. Let's allow him to answer.
that was registered in 1998 as a political party.
Right.
Are you a member of that
Judge
party?
Turner, you have the right to respond.
Thank you very much, and good morning, Nigerians. I will not join issues. All the facts speak for themselves. If Dr. Pierce have said that he was in Port Harcourt to conduct a zonal congress of the PDP, and that in that congress I contested for a zonal office, which he returned me elected, I think that would mean that my membership of the PDP is not in doubt. I'm a member of the PDP, he has said so. And I remain the secretary of the South-South Zone. I was elected in a congress conducted in Cross River State. And that congress and my position as zonal secretary have also received judicial endorsement. As at this moment, there's an order of court by the Honorable Justice Eko, which you have. I forwarded a copy. Clearly, states that I am, as at this moment, the secretary of the PDP in the South-South Zone. There's no other authority, no other governing authority for the PDP in the South-South Zone other than the Zonal Working Committee, heavily led by Chief Dan Osi Obi, the National Vice Chairman South-South of our great party. And I think Dr. Pierce is not a recognized Court of Appeal or Supreme Court. So his words will really not have any effect where there is valid order of court in that respect. You see, when it is in this kind of attitude that people will always invite the judiciary, because where rights fundamental rights are clearly, in danger of being breached.
Now, George Turner.
The only.
George Turner. I would like to really get into the meat of the conversation. Now, I do understand that you both might have different preferences here, but I'm wondering whether what we're seeing is exactly what's represented inside of the PDP with the nature of the divisions. We see that these divisions are along this is inter-parties, but it's a long alliance to certain individuals, and these individuals either are governors or were past governors. How does this affect the running of such a party, and how do you think this will affect its the perception of people of it from the outside? Is this to the advantage of the party? George Turner, you go first.
Okay, thank you. Let me say this and put things in proper perspective. What you see happening in the PDP, which is essentially a struggle for the control of structure, internal party structure, as they were, is normal, and it is politics at play. You know that the political party is made up of individuals, people from different backgrounds, divergent opinions and thoughts and all of that, converging together under a canopy, which is a political party. Now, having groupings, cliques, forums, and all of that, it's normal because politics is played along interest line. Once your interest aligns with the other, you can come together to advance that interest. Now, the only challenge we have recently in the PDP is that the NWC, normally, which should have been the umpire to provide a level playing field for the contenders, the contending interest groups and parties and cliques and forums and all of that, became an interested party themselves, to the extent that they could not now guarantee their impartiality as an umpire, and now got neck deep in ambition. So much so that when we were preparing for convention, normally the whole country knows when PDP is going for national convention, you will find our aspirants go to the national secretariat to pick forms. It's form fair. Some go with drums or gele, agaba, and it will be visible to the extent that even media houses can analyze chances of various aspirants. You will see them journey to state chapters, canvassing and holding meetings with various state chapters and asking for votes and all of that. What happened? In the build-up to this last convention, Senor Central, I challenge you people, if you can play any tape of any aspirant who went to PDP Wadata National Secretary to either pick form or return form, I will concede to whatever argument Dr. Pearce and his group of people are advancing.
Now, George,
I'm coming. Let me land on my thoughts. We had a situation where this group of people who should have been unpaired printed one form and shared among themselves under the guise of following directives or direction of governors. There are people whose interest does not align with that level of undemocratic practice. They are members of the party. They have their right to express their concerns and grievances legitimately, which is what we did. We approached the Federal Court. I was one of those among two other gentlemen. We approached the Federal Court and said, look, our constitution is being raped. Our guidelines and procedures building up to this convention are being done in a manner that defeats internal democracy. And we ask the court to determine whether INEC's role is just to sit and be watching political parties misbehave
thank you.
or go against their own constitution. And the court said,
Judge Tana, if I may.
if I don't land, you won't really get the background you are looking for. That was how we got the judgment of Justice Omotosho, which said that the party was in breach of its own constitution and other procedures. And Ajisule Lamido could not find a form to contest election.
Judge Turner, apologies. We do have to butt in here. I'm sorry.
At the end of the day, we had two subsisting court judgments that managers of the party disobeyed and proceeded to Ibadan. When they finished in Ibadan, they went back to the Federal Court in Ibadan to validate the illegality. And the court have said no. The court have nullified the convention. All decisions reached in that convention. The court have declared that the only legitimate authority as of today to manage the affairs of PDP is a National Caretaker Committee led by Mohammed Abdurrahman. And the court have restrained Turaki and others from parading themselves as leaders of the party.
Judge Turner,
thank you.
Thank you so much. Today. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I will come back to you and you will continue with your question. Dr. Pierce, I'd like to come to you now. Of course, when you answered earlier, you did mention that there was a bit of a contemplation with regards to the convention that's going to take place. My question is, how damaging is the involvement of a sitting governors in dismantling party structures?
Look, you know, looking at this from the outside, it would appear that the PDP, the party, has serious problems. I want to put it to you that we don't have any serious problems in the PDP because this convention that is being planned by Wiki and his people is not a convention of the PDP. They are not members of the PDP. They are not a political party called the PDP. The PDP is a party that is led by Turaki is the national chairman at a convention that was conducted legally the way we've conducted it for 20 years.
Yeah, but the courts have said that convention...
No. This is what's going on. Let me just first refer to some of the things we're saying about buying form and so on. The run-up to that convention where they were supposed to buy the forms, Judge Turner, Wike, all of the people that were complaining about not being able to buy form had already disqualified themselves as members of the party.
How so?
Because they had gone ahead and conducted an authorized convention, Congress.
Beg your pardon, authorized or unauthorized?
Unauthorized Congress. Therefore, the party regarded these people, many of them were already under suspension. Let me give you an example. Governor Wike had said by that time that he was working for the emergence of Bola Ahmed Tinubu in 2027. He has said it at that point. He has said at that point that the only way that he will stop fighting the PDP is if the PDP agrees not to field the presidential candidate in 2027.
Doctor, did that on its own disqualify him from being a party member? Is that what you're saying?
Well, this is the point. This is the point. It does. If you're working against your party, you are not with us.
So was there any documentation to that effect, an expulsion, an actual expulsion?
Yes. They were suspended at that point.
Okay.
They were nullified at that point. They were not regarded as members of they couldn't buy the form. Now, listen. The governor, former governor of Jigawa, he wanted to buy forms. He had said weeks before then that he was going to work for ADC, come on. So Ina wanted to buy form. And the reason that he couldn't buy form, part of it was that a schedule was released. You got to buy the form on this date. You have to return it on this date, and so on and so forth. This man waited, the governor waited 2 or 3 weeks after the forms had closed. So he now came back and said he wanted forms. So they just kept on creating problems. So this is the situation.
And you painted very clearly, sir, but I
Yes.
still have a few questions regarding the expulsion of these members you say are not party members anymore. If what they did kind of like removed them from working with the party, as you have said, was there a formal approach to that by the party? Did the party say, was there any...
The constitution of the party is clear. You cannot declare yourself an enemy of the party, an opponent of the party, and still be regarded as a bona fide member of the party.
I'd like Judge Turner to say something on this now. Mr. Judge Turner, regarding the fact that members of the party were also making inways for the opposition to power, how does that stand with you and these allegations?
Individual inalienable rights. What matters if an individual in the party makes a statement? That is not the party. The party will not now, on the strength of individual statements, now carry on impunity and begin to act unlawfully and do illegal things. You still have to follow procedure and processes. If I say I will support Minister Nyesom Wike, I will support President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and I want to contest election to be a member of the NWC, it is not in your place to stop me from exercising my rights, from purchasing form. It is the place of the delegates to stop me from being elected as NWC member at a national convention. You see, that is the error they are making. You can't take laws into your hands. You know, because Minister Nyesom Wike says he will support President Tinubu, therefore they are outcast. Wike and everybody that supports him are no longer members of... Who does that? I have never been referred to any disciplinary committee in my entire history in this party. And when people like Dr. Perez keep talking about this party and try to annex this party to themselves, political parties exist because they win elections. Our laws are very clear. If a political party is not able to win an election, you are deregistered. Let me ask Dr. Perez, has he ever won any election for this PDP in his polling unit? Has he produced a councillor from his ward for PDP in any election? So if it is left for people like Dr. Perez alone and the PDP, there will be no PDP actually. PDP would have been long deregistered and forgotten as a party. This party exists because of us, people like us, who are consistent winners of elections for this party in our unit, in our ward, in our local government, in our state. Even when we are up against federal minds, we make sure we hold on and keep winning and sustain this party. In 2015.
So you're saying that what differentiates your side of the party? So you're saying what differentiates your side of the party is the processes that you keep to, yes?
There must be due process.
Due process. All right then. Mr. Judge Turner. All right.
We run decently.
All right then.
Within the ambits of the law.
All right, Judge Turner.
Yeah, Dr. Pierce, my question will be to you regarding the November convention that did not take place. Why was this? It did take place. It did, yes, it was cancelled. Was this...
Who cancelled it?
Well, the courts, they said that it wasn't...
No. Look, this is what happened.
Okay.
When we were approaching the convention, a judge, Omotosho, a man that's been compromised, is on record. One of the judges that Wike has given land and properties to, they've been compromised. There's a video to it where the judges went to Wike begging for land. Those judges, whenever any case goes to them, it goes in favor of Wike and his people. Well, he said we shouldn't go for the convention. We now went to a court of equal jurisdiction, and got legal approval to go for the convention. So we went for the convention. That's why the convention is legal. The reason
So you
why...
still maintain it is legal?
I just told you why.
Okay.
I just told you why.
Okay.
Because a court of equal jurisdiction gave us permission to go for the convention. And we did. And we had the convention. What you have now trending, saying that our convention has been cancelled, is a continuation of what that judge who did not want us to have the convention said. That's all. So now we have appealed. So we are going back to the one that said we should have the convention to now find the legal, the final word from the Supreme Court. Do you understand?
Yes, I understand.
And
totally.
we know that there is a precedence already in court. The Supreme Court has said such matters are the concern decided by internal party issues.
Okay.
So therefore, we know it happened with SDP, and there's a judge, Helen Ogunwaju or something like that, who has said recently, a couple of weeks ago, that INEC should not interfere with party matters. 30 out of 36 states are now with Turaki.
I understand.
So, look, nothing is going to happen at that convention because it is not a PDP convention. Is that a political party?
All right, now,
Is
Dr. Pierce,
a member of the...
Finally, sir.
It's a joke.
With everything that we're seeing here, even between yourself and Judge Turner, whom we have online...
Judge Turner and I should not even be on the same program.
Now, the
because
question...
he's not a member of the PDP.
The question, sir...
He has his own political party.
The question, sir...
Let them stick to their party.
What happens next year with the PDP in this state in 2026? The elections are next year. If the PDP, which is supposed to be the strongest opposition, is in this state, how is that going to translate come the elections?
We are being bombarded by the political party in power who has infiltrated us through Wiki to try to destabilize us. If we didn't have that national convention in Ibadan in November, our party will not exist anymore. He's talking about people who win election. No. You are not deregulated if you don't win election. You are deregulated if you do not participate in election. You understand me? So, as a lawyer, you should know. But, so this is where we are. The party, PDP, is as strong as ever. Our members are with us. Forget about the governors going here, going there. They have their own reasons for going. Many of them are under pressure. They have embezzled money. They have done illegal things. They are going there for cover because most of them are not going there for election to get a ticket. They're not going to get a ticket in APC. They know that. But they're going for whatever reason. I had an article recently where I did an analysis of how governors do not affect the results of the presidential election. In 2023, APC had 22 state governors, and Tinubu won only 8 of those states. In 2023...
So there is statistics to actually back it.
PDP had 12 governors, and Atiku won only in 4 of them. The most dramatic example is this, to show you governors don't determine nothing. In 2023, how many states did Obi have governors? None. And he won 12 states. So therefore, look, it is just perception, it's impression.
Dr. Pierce.
We are not perturbed by these governors.
Dr. Pierce, I'll take that as your final...
We are working with our people.
I'll take that as your final entry, sir.
Who know that this administration has failed badly,
Papias.
And the solution, the alternative is the People's Democratic Party.
Papias, thank you very much, sir. I'll take that as your final entry. George Turner, you've got just a minute, please, if you make your final entry within that 60 seconds. Thank you.
Well, I see. Let me appreciate Pierce because it continues to bring out the illegalities that we talk about. If a court has given a judgment and said don't go for a convention, the reasonable thing and the lawful thing to do is to go and appeal to a higher court. But when you listen to Dr. Pierce saying that they went to another court of the same coordinate jurisdiction, and then asked them to go ahead, that in itself. You see, on this set of people, they just travel in impunity and illegality. It is not a matter of discourse. As of today, the PDP is led by Mohammed Abdurrahman. You saw recently that himself and Senator Samuel Anyango, our National Secretary, were in a meeting where all leaders of all political parties, stakeholders had with INEC. And we are in a process. We have NEC, we have approved congresses. Our convention of PDP, we hold on the 28th and 29th of March in Abuja. There is no doubt as to who is the legitimate and illegitimate leader of PDP. As of today, those issues have been laid to rest.
All right,
until,
Mr. George Turner.
Until the reverse is done. And
thank you very much, Mr. George Turner.
No court will reverse a judgment that punishes disobedience to substantive orders of court.
Thank you very much, Mr. George Turner. Thank you very much, Dr. Adetokunbo Pierce, for joining us for this conversation. It is apparent that there is a lot that still needs to be well spoken about from inside and from outside of the PDP as we approach 2027, and we hope that come the elections that everything has been resolved inside the party. But thank you for joining us for this conversation. We really enjoyed it. Now to the viewers, do stay tuned. We've got more conversation, at least two of them before the end of this hour, the final one for Breakfast Extra. We'll be right back.
In case you are just joining us, this is Breakfast Extra, where the topics just keep on getting hotter. Now, Nigeria's long-running debate over electoral credibility has resurfaced following the Senate's rejection of electronic transmission of election results. And supporters of the decision argue that the technological limitations, infrastructure gaps, and security risks make nationwide implementation premature. Critics have, however, seen the move as a retreat from transparency. Electronic transmission has been widely viewed as a tool to reduce human interference, limit result manipulation, and restore public trust in elections. Civil society groups argue that rejecting it reinforces the very weakness Nigeria has struggled to overcome, including disputed results, delayed coalition, and post-election violence.
So the backlash has been swift. Opposition parties warn that the decision disadvantages smaller parties and strengthens incumbency. Legal analysts question whether the Senate's stance aligns with the spirit of recent electoral reforms and expectations of voters who have repeatedly called for cleaner elections. So, to examine the legal, political, and also democratic implications, we're joined by Abdul Karim Musa. He's a lawyer and public affairs analyst, and also Ladipo Johnson, National Publicity Secretary of the New Nigeria People's Party. Gentlemen, you are welcome. Thank you very much for joining us virtually here on Breakfast Extra. Abdul Karim Musa. Oh, Inam, would you like to go first, please? Go ahead.
Yes, we'll start with Abdul Karim Musa. From a legal standpoint, because you do weigh in from the legal side, does the Senate rejection align with the spirit of Nigeria's existing electoral reforms?
Good morning, and thank you for having me. Yes, straight up to your question, my position is that the Senate's disposition does not align with the desires, the aspirations, and the hope of the Nigerian people. Because if you take a historical antecedent of this issue of electoral reform, it all began in the year 2018, where INEC themselves put up a committee to go on an investigation as to how to introduce electronic transmission or electronic voting into the electoral system in Nigeria. And because of the proximity of the time of that decision to 2019, they could not implement that electronic transmission in the 2019 elections, which made the Electoral Act of 2022 introduce the idea of electronic transmission of votes. So you can see that there's an idea behind the issue of electronic transmission. Up to the 2023 elections, there were transmission in certain parts of certain electoral areas. Unfortunately, the court, at the end of the day, in the presidential election, decided that the issue of electronic transmission of votes was not compulsory and that it was subject to INEC's discretion. So Nigerians continued to clamor and yearn for the
electoral transmission to be made a mandatory provision in the Electoral Act. And that was why Nigeria pushed for electoral reform. So if you follow through this antecedent, you would realize that what Nigerians are clamoring for is a mandatory transmission of votes in real time. So whatever position the Senate has taken now does not align with the aspiration, the hopes, the yearnings, and the clamor of the Nigerian people, as nothing substantially different has been done from what already existed in the Electoral Act of 2022.
Yeah, Musa, that exactly seems to be the bone of contention here, because even we are not sure exactly what the senators are saying. They've come out to say, no, it wasn't just rejected or everything. They tried to define exactly what they meant or why they rejected it. Mr. Latipo Johnson, I don't know whether you have any take on this, what you wanted, or exactly what were the senators trying to make us understand when they rejected the electronic transfer of results on election day?
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
The senators or the Senate will look for any excuse to ensure that they leave things as they are, so that you have human control, human interference, lack of transparency, and what have you. This coming from a set of people who claim that they are involved in electronic registration of their members. So I just think that it is just it's a farce, and Nigerians should call it out. And if Mr. President wants Nigerians to believe that he is truly a Democrat, then they must always seek to improve on our laws, electoral guidelines and laws, infrastructure. And as such, he should reject that bill and tell his party people that he controls to ensure that what the people of Nigeria want is inside the bill.
Now, still on you, Mr. Johnson, politically, if we look at the voters especially, what message does this send to voters who supported reforms aimed at transparency?
Well, what the message it sends out, unfortunately, is that we're beginning to see already that we will not be having free and fair elections in 2027. That's the message. Because a lot of people across board say that they want this in the law, in the electoral. Because INEC, the courts last time said it wasn't a mandatory requirement. And we said, okay, let's correct it. And people are cross-board. But obviously, those in control, those representatives in control, the Senate this time, have thought that, no, it pays us better to go the other way. So we'll give any excuses and whatever. And so the people already, going back to your question, are beginning to feel or are beginning to realize that this government has no intention to deliver better elections or free and fair elections. It's only elections according to their terms that they're free to deliver.
But gentlemen, let's take a look at exactly why the senators did not agree to this electronic transfer. Some of them sound a little bit, reasonable. I want to start with technical and infrastructural concerns here. They said some senators argued that Nigeria's network coverage, power supply, and technological infrastructure are not yet reliable enough nationwide to support real-time electronics upload from all polling units, which has, well, there's a bit of sense in there because we know what it's like, even on a normal day. Speak less of election days. We know what happens there, whether it's deliberate or not. The other reason here, I'm going to need Mr. Musa's help here to define this. The legal framing of it. It's not rejection. It's a legal framing, and this is what they said. The Senate leaders, including President Godswill Akpabio, said they did not intend to remove electronic transmission altogether, but to retain the existing provision and avoid wording that could make implementation unrealistic or legally problematic. They insisted that the basic concept remains permitted, though not mandatory. Musa, if you would help us here, because I mean, that's a lot. What exactly are they trying to say here, Abdul Karim?
Well, yes, that narration by the Senate President is quite mischievous because the ambiguity surrounding the provision of the INEC guideline is what led to the clamor for that guideline to be introduced into Section 60 of the Electoral Act. And what is that ambiguity? The Electoral guideline provided that the INEC officer should transmit or transfer the votes to the IREV upon completion of the election. That provision that had in interpretation of status, when a status used the word or, it means that an option has been created that he can do either of the options created, either to transmit or to transfer. And so the courts relied on that provision to say that because there is that option of transmission or transfer, it meant that transmission was not compulsory. Assuming the law had said transmission and transfer, then it would have become mandatory. So that ambiguity was created, and that was why there was a clamor that introduced this guideline into the Act and make it compulsory, impose punishment and sanctions upon people who fail to comply with it. So it is mischievous if the Senate President is making an argument that they should retain that provision in order not to cause confusion. It was that provision that already caused the confusion that Nigerians are bedeviled with today, and that was why Nigerians clamored that there should be a reform, an amendment in that provision. This thing is not difficult for anybody to do. I have even maintained the position previously that a combined effect of Section 60, subsection 5, and clause 38, Section 60 of the Electoral Act and clause 38 of the INEC guideline would simply mean that election results should be transmitted. But since the courts have had another interpretation, because the law is what the courts say it is, no matter the understanding of any of the parties or anybody, what the court interprets the law to be is what it is. Now, the courts haven't interpreted that provision to mean that transmission is not mandatory. Nigerians are simply saying, introduce a section, a provision in the Electoral Act, make it mandatory. How is this too difficult for a Senate President who is a lawyer or senators who are experts in legislative drafting to comprehend? So it is just an issue of mischievous approach to the drafting of the Electoral Act in order not to give a true representation to the hopes and aspirations of the Nigerian people towards having a free, credible, and fair election that Nigerian people desire.
Right. Now, this one is for you, Mr. Johnson. How does, I mean, if we're looking at these smaller parties, how does this decision affect them? And I speak to parties like the NNPP that rely on fair collation processes.
Well, it affects everyone. It affects the smaller parties. It affects Nigerians as a whole, because what you find is that it is easier for people who have been compromised to manipulate the system. And that is basically what they want. That is basically what they want. They want to, as the last speaker said, they are keeping status quo. The court has already interpreted the 2000 and the Electoral Act, and it has said that it is not mandatory. So by trying to keep it the same, they want to make sure that that window of opportunity, that results will change from the polling unit before they get to the collation center, they're keeping it open. They're keeping it open, and it is plain to see, and we shouldn't sugarcoat it in any way. They have begun the rigging of the election.
Mr. Johnson, I dare say that there was a
They
case
have.
made for small parties like the
And Mr.
NNPP.
President, at the end of the day,
I dare say that the Senate made a case for.
Sorry?
I dare say that the Senate made a case for small parties like the NNPP. These small parties have stronger roots in the grassroots, whether you like it or not. The grassroots are not necessarily places where you have great infrastructure. And infrastructure here was one of the things that was pointed at as why they rejected it. If these small grassroots places
it is
do
a
not,
joke.
and you say this why? Because I mean, because if you can monitor your votes,
it is all a joke.
If you can monitor,
if the Senate President goes to his, sorry sir, if he goes to his village, I assure you, the phone network will work. It is all a joke. If they want to do it, they'll do it. Do you know how much they budget for INEC every year? Let alone election time. Why can't they work on it? They can identify each polling unit. Why can't they work on it? If it is that, okay, even satellite phones.
Mr. Johnson, we are out of time. I'm going to ask, what's the way forward for the situation here regarding the reform of the electoral bill? What do you suggest?
The way forward, thank you very much. The way forward is that people should make sure this is at the front burner for as long as we have time. And we should call out Mr. President, because anything, the Senate is a rubber stamp Senate. So we don't need to talk about the senators. It is what Aso Rock wants delivered that will be delivered to them. So if Mr. President is really, truly a Democrat, or truly someone who, as he claims, that he fought for democracy, then they should go back and ensure that the clause is included in the Electoral Act, in the amended Electoral Act. He shouldn't sign it otherwise.
Now, Mr. Musa, to you, closing remarks in this and response to the same question, please.
All right, thank you. My closing remark would be that on the issue of the infrastructural limitations, the simple solution is that Nigerians are not necessarily asking for a real-time, as in immediate transmission, but that before the declaration of the results, let the election results be transmitted insofar as Nigerians can see that the result that was announced is the same result on the IRF portal and is the same result on the BVAS machines. And then finally, I would say that the development of Nigeria is dependent on this electoral reform because election is at the core of democracy. The dreams of having a better Nigeria would only remain in the realm of dreams if Nigeria does not take substantial and substantive action towards ensuring that there is electoral reform.
Mr. Johnson, Mr. Musa, thank you very much for having this conversation with us. It's, very interesting one. We hope to see where this will go. We'll continue to follow the debate. And of course, if we have more cause to have you here on Breakfast Extra, definitely, why not? Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, it's quite clear that electoral credibility is not built on promises alone, but on systems people can rely on as well as trust. As the debate continues, the question remains whether Nigeria is moving forward or hesitating at a critical moment. We will keep on following this story and keep you much informed. But for now, stay with us on Breakfast Extra as we go on a quick break.
Welcome back. Final conversation here for Breakfast Extra. Now, the death of Ifunanya Nwagene after a snakebite has reopened a quiet but deadly crisis in Nigeria's public health system. Snake bites kill thousands across the country every year, mostly in rural communities where access to timely care is limited. Now, antivenom is scarce, it's expensive, and often unavailable where it is needed most. In many cases, victims arrive at health centers too late or are treated without the right drugs. What should be a survivable medical emergency to, well, it often becomes a death sentence.
Joining us now to unpack this are Taiwo Okikola, hepatologist.
Yeah, let the biologist in the house do that, yeah.
And Chinedu Monko, the director of Green Fingers Wildlife Initiative. We will look at the science of snake bites and failures in medical responses and what practical steps Nigeria must take to prevent more avoidable deaths.
Chinedu, you're welcome. Thank you very much. We have you for now, if I'm not mistaken. Now, Chinedu, we're wondering exactly, the situation that we saw with Ufunaya, very, very sad one. However, there is plenty to unpack when it comes to these instances. So from a public health point of view, or maybe even policy angle if you want, why is antivenom still so difficult to access in Nigeria?
Thank you for your question. Now, there's quite a lot of issues. We are definitely, but we're not shocked at the incident which may have happened because it's not the first one that we've heard of. And since then, you would think that we would take steps. Hospitals would take steps. Snake bites are one of the most underreported cases we've seen of deaths here in Nigeria. Just like malaria, snake bite is a tropical disease, just like your other diseases. And the failure to take steps to ensuring that antivenom, yes, we understand the process of making antivenom could be very expensive, needs extensive research, and storage of these antivenoms also should should be considered, because if not stored at the proper temperatures, they may actually go bad and become less viable. So these are some of the challenges, but the failure of the government, higher institutions. I mean, we apparently we do have a snake research lab somewhere in the north, and the question is, what is their responsibility? Do they get funding? And even if they do get funding, what is their responsibility in ensuring that these snake venoms get to at least, even if it's the federal hospitals all around Nigeria, because they are snakes. We have many venomous snakes. We have the gaboon viper, we have the forest cobra, and we have boomslangs, whose venom are potent enough to kill people. So if we know we have these problems or these animals, and they're not in small numbers, they're in large numbers all across the country, why will we not take better steps in ensuring their antivenom?
Now, Chinedu, from the research that I have done, and I stand to be corrected, Mazino, Nigeria does not necessarily have free medical health care. I know that there's a subsidy or whatever it is that you have to pay if you're going to a general hospital. So when we want to now incorporate and involve the government, what role do we say that the government should play in funding and distributing antivenom nationwide?
Well, the government should play a major role, even if it's not even if it's not free. I mean, there are public hospitals, and even in public hospitals, people do get, even though it's some subsidized amount, people still get to buy medications. And snake bite it's not preventable, but then again, it has to be provided. The remedies, the cures have to be provided, even if it's in private hospitals, even if private hospitals decide to do that. But however, government hospitals, because government, they have the funding. There is a federal ministry, there's a ministry that has the locations, Ministry of Forestry, Ministry of Health. They must consider that these are possible problems. I mean, we have to come beyond being proactive, because that's mostly what we do in this country. We are very proactive, very reactive than being proactive. So is the government saying it's too difficult to sponsor or to produce antivenoms? That's one. Then we have laboratories scattered across the country, universities, students studying zoology, students going into research, because we can already see that there's a flaw and there's a problem with our research, with the students who can't even do a research because they don't have the funding or they do not have the necessary provisions. So we will definitely see that government can do this if they want to pay attention to this. But it's clear. When you think about animals, anything that has to do with animals, government wouldn't really put too much emphasis on it. And because this has to do with animals also, we've also seen that that's why one of the reasons government, they are not even really concerned about issues like this.
Thank you, Chinedu. We have our hepatologist online with us, Taiwo Kikiola. Taiwo, thank you for joining us for this conversation. Very interesting that you're joining us now, because I want to know, you're a hepatologist, and I'm wondering what the institutions, what their responsibility is here. Every single year we get graduates who come out who go on to also, well, further in research, what are the institutions doing to encourage data, especially in places where you might have these animals that might eventually bite people, like we saw in the case in Abuja? Are the institutions responsible for any kind of data, any kind of advances in anti-venom? What are the institutions doing?
I think we're not putting much efforts. I have written to offices, not one, not two, regarding creating a body that controls the sourcing for anti-venom, lecturing about our snakes, how to avoid them, how to know if a snake is around you, how to know if a snake is in your house, and so many things. But I don't think those letters are even opened, talk less of being attended to. So I believe that the snake bites, like someone said, is a report that Nigeria do not really take serious, because in Africa we have over 20,000 snake bites in a year, and in Nigeria alone we have over 2,000 snake bites in a year, and that's quite a big number. So I believe that we should do better. Antivenom are not supposed to just be in primary health centers or just hospitals. They're supposed to be provided at premises too. Yes, it is cost, and you need like 2 to 3 doses depending on the type of snake that bits you. So I believe that if the government can create or allow us have a body that controls this, we wouldn't have such reports again regarding snake deaths. It's normal for snake to bite. Mm-hmm. You cannot avoid it. It's not preventable. But dying from a snake bite is not supposed to still exist in 2026.
Not at this day and age. Taiwo, there's something else I wanted to ask. During the course of the week, I was doing research. I was doing research actually about snake bites, and I actually found one that says if you tie a region where you have been afflicted by a snake bite, it's actually worse off. And I was wondering, Taiwo, is this true? When you are bitten by a snake, what's the first thing that you're supposed to do?
Yes, you're right. It is wrong to tie the spot at which you got bitten. When you're bitten by a snake, the first thing you have to do is to control the way you breathe. That means you must not panic, because what panicking does is increase your heartbeat. And once your heart pumps too much of blood at a time, it helps this venom spread quickly. So the first thing to do is to stay calm. No movement at the spot at which you got bitten. If it was your hand, you must not move it. You must treat it like a broken bone. So the hand or the leg or any part of that body must stay still. Then if you could get help, avoid shouting. Anything that is going to make you panic or anything that is going to make your heart start beating fast, you must avoid it. Get help. When you get help, you can get a pipe or a broom or even ruler, or you can also get a plastic. Just attach, if let's say the snake bits you at this point, now the venom will start spreading from this point to this point, then to your organs before shutting each of your organs down. So let's say you got bitten by this point, you can find a pipe that is this length, attach it to the point, then get a bandage, not a rope. If you don't have a bandage, get a long scarf, something a little bit soft. Then wrap around your hand and whatever you choose to attach. You can also get a stick, yes. Anything that will not make this hand shake. Attach the bandage to your hand, secure the stick and your hand together so it restricts the venom to this part of your body. What tying does is it destroys your limb. Once you tie it too tight, then the venom will start making your that part of your body start getting swollen, and before you know, it might lead to amputation even after the antivenom, depending on the snake that bits you. So after doing that, do not move the hand, just stay still, get help. if you can drive, yes, drive slowly. Don't drive like, oh, I'm going to die, so I'm going to die. You drive slowly to the hospital. And once you get to the hospital, of course, they're going to ask you what type of snake bit you, because you need to be treated according to the snake's antivenom. But there is a general antivenom now that I believe that when this government allows us to create a body, this general antivenom can actually go around for every snake that we have in Nigeria, because we do not have many venomous snakes in Nigeria. There are over 4,000 species of snake on Earth, and just 500 are venomous. So Nigeria has to be a home to snakes that are non-venomous. The only threats we have in Nigeria is the boomslang, the Jameson mamba, the Gabon viper, puff adder, forest cobra, spitting cobra, and a bush viper.
Yeah, it's okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
You know, I watched snakes on the...
So when you get to the hospital, they would ask you, and if you could recollect, fine. And do not attempt attacking the snake after a bite, please. Leave the snake alone, let it go, because there are cases whereby you got bitten again, trying to kill the snake.
Taiwo, can I just interject? Thank you so much for that information. I think it's very crucial, Mazino, because all the snakes I know are the snakes I saw on Snakes on a Plane. But I want us to have a real conversation. In as much as you're giving us the advice, which is extremely valuable, let's talk about the realities in Nigeria. And of course, we can use Ifnaya's case as an example. Hypothetically speaking, especially because right now, hospitals may not have the anti-venom. So after we have done everything that you have advised, what happens if a person gets to the hospital and there is no anti-venom? Is there a possibility to survive without getting the anti-venom?
There isn't.
Oh.
Tradomedicals actually have an anti-venom for mostly cobras. But I don't think they are also paying more concentration on that part, creating an anti-venom that actually works for people that cannot afford the real anti-venom. So if that person gets to the hospital and there's no anti-venom, I'm sorry, it's going to be a bad news. And again, if the person gets to the hospital late again and the anti-venom was injected into her very late, it might still not work, because each snake bite has durations in which their venom can be in your bloodstream.
Oh, Chinedu, I'd like to move to you. Can you give me a response to this? Is there a way to divert the bad news that Taiwo just spoke about?
Clearly, all she said is actually very right. But sticking to understanding the traditional aspects of it, we also need, and it's also limited, because even in the medical, when polycystic or polyvalent venoms are created, they can work for a wide range of snake bites. But unfortunately, there are some snakes that you need a different kind of antivenom called the monovalent antivenom, which can only work on such snakes' venom. And that is why, I mean, yes, we look at the realities of Nigeria, but we really also need to understand how important this is. We speak about this so that we wouldn't put snakes, we're not putting that fear by saying there is no hope, and thereby let us eliminate every snake within the planet or within the continent, within Nigeria. But we should just look at how the roles they play, which is very important, and what we should do, and providing these safety measures for snake bites, which is very, very crucial and critical. This will not be the last time someone will be bitten by snakes or venomous snakes. So wouldn't we now begin to make those things available? And that's the question we need to answer.
Now, Taiwo, I'll come back to you. I have a dog, and one of the reasons why we did get dogs is because most of the time when snakes are present, dogs would react and bark. Outside of me having a canine animal, how do I tell in my surroundings if a snake is present?
All right. The very first fact to know a snake is present is seeing their skin shed. Some snakes shed every week, some monthly, and some in 3 months, depends on the size. But once you notice a skin shed in the perimeter of your home or inside your house, a snake is definitely around. The Yorubas made a myth that once you see a snake skin, it means that it simply means that the snake has gone far away. No, it does not mean that. It means that the snake has been shedding somewhere. You're just opportune to see that one. And once you see it, you need to either fumigate or start checking your corners. That's the first thing. The second thing is they have a musky smell. For people that knows how their house smells, when the snake is around you, it is going to smell different. Now, it depends on if you're paying attention, because the smell is nothing really, really serious. But then if you pay attention very well, at that particular place, maybe your room or the kitchen starts smelling differently. That's another way to know a snake is around you or in your house. Another way to know is when you live in a rat-infested area where rat keeps disturbing you and you do not own a cat. You are not taking measures to drive them away, or let's say the measures you're taking has been failing. Probably this rat gum, rat poisons has been failing, and you know that this place that disturbing me, and all of a sudden, drastically, the rats went away on their own. It also means that a snake is around you, because these are things that they come for. They simply come for food and shelter.
All right,
that's
then,
why they are in your home.
Taiwo, we do appreciate the details that you've given us regarding how to especially identify if you've got snakes around you, and also what to do if you are ever bitten. And Chinedu, thank you for the details that you've also given us regarding this matter. We do commiserate with the family of Ifunaya in Abuja. They're a very unfortunate instance, but once again, we also need to be about ourselves and make sure that we are well taken care of. It's unfortunate, the system that we are in, but we also hope that there's at least policy amendments that will help us when it comes to public health and venom, anti-venom. Thank you very much, lady, gentlemen, for joining us on that conversation. And to you, Inam Maso, thank you very much.